JC is saying Louis, oldest living hippie. JC is saying Louis, oldest living hippie.
Hello, this is JC, St. Louis's oldest living hippie. I am here to talk about Chief Justice Roberts and the speech that he gave to an organization that honored him with a prestigious award. I don't think it deserves to name the organization. I think Chief Justice John Roberts is just a sham. He's a shill. He's a worthless piece of shit. Chief Justice John Roberts has no spine. He's milquetoast. He's afraid of his own shadow, okay? Because what he's saying in this article is reversing Roe versus Wade, which is a constitutional right for women, wasn't as hard as putting a fence up around the Supreme Court, an actual physical fence. And why was the fence put up? It was put up because the justices were such cowards, including the Chief Justice, that they were afraid once they reversed this decision that they were going to be attacked, that there was going to be some kind of major revolt, insurrection against the Supreme Court. So they put this fence up. Yeah, they're scared of their own footsteps coming back to bite them. These people are not humans. They're not justices because they're not objective, but they're not brave either. These are fat, slovenly, well-dined, well-cashed out judges who are living off the fat of the land. And we need to get rid of them all. Fuck them all. Anyway, I'm going to let you listen to this article. It just pisses me off.
Justice, deciding to build fence to protect court was harder than deciding to rescind Roe versus Wade. Chief Justice John Roberts says it was harder for him to decide to have a fence erected around the U.S. Supreme Court ahead of the ruling that would reverse the 49-year-old Roe v. Wade decision than it was to decide that case, which stripped women of their constitutional right to abortion. The embattled Chief Justice told the 100-year-old American Law Institute, which honored him with a prestigious award at their annual meeting Tuesday night, that erecting the fence was actually the hardest decision he's ever had to make in his nearly 2 decades as head of the nation's highest court. I'm asked what was the hardest thing?
Highest court.
What was
That's
the
a
hardest
joke.
decision I had to make in 18 years? Was it this First Amendment case? Was it that death penalty case? Was it some major separation of powers case? None of those. The hardest decision I had to make was whether to erect fences and barricades around the Supreme
Because
Court.
you're all cowards.
I had no choice but to go ahead and do it, Roberts declared. As the Washington Post noted, those fences and barricades erected around the Supreme Court were in preparation for protests of the court's decision that overturned the constitutional right to abortion the court had established nearly 50 years earlier in Roe v. Wade. The fences remained for months. Unlike the fences and barricades, the decision not only still stands, it has led to total or partial abortion bans in at least 20 states, with more being debated in other states, and some Republicans pushing for a nationwide abortion ban. Chief Justice Roberts is leading a Supreme Court under fire on several fronts, which has led to historically low approval ratings. In September, just months after the decision to allow states to ban abortion, Gallup found that just 47% trust the judicial branch, and noted the previous low was 53%. It also found that the court's 40% job approval is tied for record low, and 42% say the Supreme Court is too conservative, a record high. Wednesday morning, CNN reported Americans' approval of the Supreme Court has fallen since the start of the year, according to a new poll released Wednesday, with 41% of the country saying it approves of the 9 justices amid a barrage of media reports and watchdog complaints concerning ethics and transparency at the nation's highest court. Justice Roberts has refused to implement at his Supreme Court the same ethical standards every federal judge, except the 9 justices, are required to observe. He has also refused to take significant action against several justices who appear to be in violation of certain ethics reporting requirements, not to mention the appearance, some say, corruption. And while he gave lip service to ethical issues Tuesday evening in his 15-minute remarks, the concerns surrounding the court's corruption remain, as these headlines show a rare inside look at our corrupt Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court's alleged ethics issues are worse than you probably realize. The stench of corruption is growing stronger around the Supreme Court. Why the Supreme Court is blind to its own corruption.
There you go. That's our wonderful Chief Justice and what he thinks is going on in his life, and the most, I'd say, embarrassing decision he's ever made, to put a fence around the Supreme Court because he's a coward. It's that simple. And all the other justices are obviously cowards too, you know. And I'm including the not just the conservative judges, but the left-leaning judges too. So that fence should not be there. But if they hadn't rescinded Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court would be just fine. And the other thing is, the reason that the Supreme Court did not hear the case on the injunction against Illinois for banning AR-15 assault weapons is because they know they fucked up with Roe versus Wade. And if they go against the state of Illinois on banning assault weapons, they've totally fucked themselves. And also the state of Washington has also banned assault weapons. And I think more states, if they're smart, if they're wise, they'll ban assault weapons. Okay, this is JC, St. Louis's oldest living hippie, saying, "Pox some more, Jack."